This confession will destroy you. It came from a woman whose life was shattered in 24 hours. But what she did next, what she's still living with, will haunt you long after this video ends. My daughter asked me yesterday why I cry in my sleep. She's 7 years old, and she's been sneaking into my room at night because she hears me sobbing. I told her mommy just has bad dreams sometimes. She doesn't know that her mommy became a monster to protect her. She doesn't know that the reason daddy can't pick her up anymore isn't just because his hands shake. It's because I made them shake. She doesn't know that the reason Aunt Riley moved far away and never visits isn't because she's busy. It's because I destroyed her ability to ever become a mother. My 7-year-old daughter sleeps in my bed now because she's worried about my nightmares. And I let her. Because her tiny hand in mine is the only thing that reminds me I used to be good. I used to be someone worth protecting. Now I'm someone my own child protects from the darkness I created. I need to tell you what happened. Not because I want forgiveness. I don't deserve it. Not because I want understanding. What I did is unforgivable. I need to tell you because the weight of carrying this alone is killing me. And my daughter deserves a mother who can sleep through the night, even if that mother is a monster. 24 hours. That's how long it took for my perfect life to crumble. But what I built from those ashes, what I chose to become when everything I loved was threatened. That's the real horror story. And it starts with the sound of my husband laughing in my bed, with my sister. I'm a nurse. Was a nurse. I still wear the scrubs, still save lives. But I'm not the same person who took that oath to do no harm. That person died at 7:03 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. I'd been working the night shift at the hospital, 12 hours of keeping people alive, of being someone's guardian angel. I was exhausted, but happy, proud. I had 2 beautiful children sleeping safely at home and a husband who I thought loved me. I was an idiot. A coworker offered to cover my last 2 hours and I thought I'd surprise him. Maybe bring him coffee in bed. Maybe steal a few quiet moments before our day began. Before the kids woke up demanding breakfast and attention. And all the beautiful chaos of family life. I wanted to be a good wife. I wanted to try harder. I used my key quietly. I could hear voices upstairs, him talking to someone. I smiled, thinking maybe he was on a work call. My sweet, hard-working husband, already solving problems before sunrise. The stairs in our house creak on the 3rd and 7th steps. I'd learned to skip them when coming home from night shifts, so I wouldn't wake anyone. Such a considerate wife, right? Such a caring mother. I was so considerate that I gave them the perfect opportunity to destroy me in my own home. I reached our bedroom door, and I could hear him more clearly now. He was laughing. Not the polite laugh you use for work calls. The genuine, happy laugh I hadn't heard from him in months. The laugh I'd been trying so hard to earn back. He was laughing with my sister. I pushed the door open, and there they were. In my bed, under my sheets, she was wearing my robe, the silk one he'd given me for our anniversary. She was wearing my anniversary gift while she stole my husband in my bed. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is that they looked happy, comfortable, like they belonged together more than he and I ever had. They didn't notice me at first. I stood there, invisible in my own doorway, watching my sister trace patterns on my husband's chest while they talked about when they were going to tell me. Not if they were going to tell me. When. Like I was just an inconvenience to be managed, a problem to be solved so they could be together openly. That's when my husband saw me. His face didn't show guilt or shame or remorse. It showed annoyance. Annoyance that I'd interrupted their morning. You want to know what broke me? It wasn't finding them together. It wasn't even the betrayal. It was the look of irritation on his face when he saw me. Like I was the one doing something wrong. Like I was the one who didn't belong in my own bedroom, in my own life. He didn't jump up, didn't scramble to cover himself or push her away or stammer excuses. He just sighed. Like I was a child who'd walked in on something I wasn't supposed to see. "Maya," he said, my name sounding like an obligation in his mouth. "We need to talk." My sister, the little girl I'd held when she cried about boys in high school, the woman I'd helped through college heartbreak, the person I'd trusted with my children, she just pulled my robe tighter around herself and said, "This isn't how we wanted you to find out. We wanted me to find out." They discussed the best way to destroy my world. They'd planned this conversation. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. My chest felt like someone was standing on it. So I just stood there, in my own doorway, in my own house, watching my life end. And they explained it to me like they were doing me a favor. How they'd fallen in love. How it started innocently. Working together, spending time together while I was at the hospital saving lives. How they'd realized they had a connection that I supposedly couldn't understand. Riley kept saying, "I'm sorry," but she wasn't looking at me. She was looking at him. Apologizing to him for getting caught, for ruining their morning, for forcing this conversation before they were ready. "How long?" I finally whispered. The silence stretched forever. I watched them look at each other, having a whole conversation with their eyes about what to tell me, about how much truth I could handle. Finally, he said, 2 years. 2 years. 2 years of family dinners where she sat across from me, asking about my day, listening to me worry about our marriage. 2 years of her babysitting my children while he and I supposedly went on date nights to reconnect. Except I know now he was never with me those nights. 2 years of birthday parties and Christmas mornings and Sunday brunches where they looked me in the eye and lied. 2 years of me working double shifts to help pay for the house they were planning to take from me. 2 years of me confiding in my sister about my marriage problems while she was sleeping with my husband. But then Riley put her hand on her stomach and said the words that changed everything. "Maya, there's something else. I'm pregnant." And that's when I realized they hadn't just been planning to leave me. They'd been planning to replace me. When I came out of the bathroom, after vomiting up everything I'd eaten in 12 hours, they were dressed and sitting on my couch, in my living room, like they belonged there more than I did. "Maya, sit down," Trevor said. "We need to figure this out like adults. Adults. Like adults don't lie to their spouses for 2 years. Like adults don't sleep with their sister-in-law in the marital bed." But I sat. Because I'm a people pleaser. Because I always try to do the right thing. Because I was still in shock and couldn't think straight. They had it all planned out. Trevor wanted a divorce. He'd already spoken to a lawyer, his lawyer, who apparently knew about the affair and had been helping him prepare. He'd been moving assets, securing properties, making sure I'd get as little as possible in the settlement. Riley had been looking at houses for them. She'd found the perfect place, 4 bedrooms, big yard, great schools, for their new family. For my husband and my sister and their baby and my children, who would live with them half the time. "The kids love Riley," Trevor said. "This won't be as hard on them as you think." I asked them how long they'd been planning this. How long they'd been preparing to destroy my life while I worked night shifts to help pay our mortgage. "We tried to stay away from each other," Riley said. "But love finds a way." Love. She called it love. By evening, I'd learned the true depth of their betrayal, and it was so much worse than I could have imagined. The house Trevor claimed he was developing for a client? It was for them. He'd been using our joint savings account, money I'd contributed from my nursing salary, to fund his new life with my sister. My name had been quietly removed from several accounts and property deeds over the past 6 months. Legal documents I'd never seen, signatures I'd never made, decisions about my own financial future that had been made without me. When I demanded to see our financial records, Trevor reluctantly showed me. Our retirement account, nearly emptied. The college funds I'd been contributing to for Sophia and Carter, transferred to accounts with only his name. The emergency fund I'd built up working double shifts during the holidays, gone. I was protecting our assets, he said. Like stealing from me was somehow for my own good. But the financial betrayal was nothing compared to what Riley had been doing. She had keys to our house, not just spare keys for emergencies. She'd made copies and been coming over regularly when I was at work, trying on my clothes, cooking in my kitchen, playing house with my children. She'd been positioning herself as the fun aunt, who let them stay up late and eat ice cream for dinner while I was working to keep our family afloat. Riley showed me pictures on her phone. Photos of her and my children baking cookies in my kitchen. Videos of them dancing in my living room. Screenshots of bedtime stories she'd read them in their rooms. Moments that should have been mine, stolen while I was saving other people's lives. They needed someone who was actually present, she said. Like working to provide for them somehow made me a bad mother. My 7-year-old daughter, Sophia, had been asking why Aunt Riley can't live with us all the time for months. I'd thought it was sweet, innocent affection for her aunt. Now I realized it was the result of months of calculated manipulation. Riley had been telling my children stories about how tired and sad I always seemed. How much happier they could be if someone who really wanted to be with them was taking care of them instead. She'd been promising them trips and toys and adventures that I couldn't afford on my nurse's salary. They'd been building a comprehensive case for custody. Riley had been documenting every time I was tired after a 12-hour shift at the hospital. Every time I was short-tempered because I'd been up all night saving lives. Every time I chose to work extra hours to pay for their school supplies and sports fees and birthday parties. She'd been building a narrative that I was an absent, neglectful mother who prioritized work over family, conveniently leaving out the fact that I was working to support the family while Trevor focused on his business ventures that apparently included setting up a love nest with my sister. Trevor showed me the folder, 3 inches thick, pictures of me looking exhausted coming home from work, screenshots of times I'd asked Riley to babysit last minute when I got called in for emergencies, a detailed list of school events I'd missed due to work, parent-teacher conferences I couldn't attend because I was literally keeping people alive in the ICU. There were statements from Riley about times she'd found the children unsupervised, meaning they were playing in their own backyard while I folded laundry or used the bathroom. Reports about how often I served them cereal for dinner when I was too tired to cook after a double shift. "We're not trying to take the kids away from you," Trevor said. "But they deserve stability. They deserve a mother who actually wants to be with them." Stability. From the man who'd been cheating on their mother for 2 years, and the woman who'd been systematically undermining me while I trusted her with the most precious things in my life. They'd even consulted with a family lawyer, using money from our joint account to pay for legal advice on how to take my children away from me. Around midnight, when I thought I had heard the worst of it, Riley revealed something that shattered what was left of my heart. She pulled out her phone and showed me text message conversations between her and my children. Messages that had been going on for months. Sophia had been texting Riley about problems at school, asking for advice about friends and homework. Carter had been sending her pictures of his drawings and videos of himself singing songs. All the little moments that children usually share with their mothers, they'd been sharing with her. "They trust me," Riley said. "They come to me when they're upset or confused, when you're at work and they need someone to talk to." She showed me video calls, My children, in their pajamas, calling Riley to say goodnight when I was working late shifts. Riley reading them bedtime stories over video chat from her apartment, singing them lullabies, helping them with homework I didn't know they were struggling with. "I've been there for them when you couldn't be," she continued. "I've been the consistent parent figure in their lives." But then she showed me something that made me physically sick. Messages between Riley and my children, where she'd been asking them questions about me. Subtle, careful questions about whether I seemed happy at home, whether I ever said anything about not wanting to be their mommy anymore, whether I ever talked about wanting a different life. She'd been coaching them to notice things about me, to report back to her about my moods, my behavior, my conversations. She'd turned my own children into little spies, gathering evidence against me without even realizing what they were doing. There were recordings. Riley had taught my children to use voice memo apps on their tablets. For fun, she'd told them. But she'd been encouraging them to record conversations with me, especially when I was tired or frustrated after work. She played me clips of my own voice, moments when I'd snapped at Sophia for not cleaning her room, times when I'd told Carter I was too tired to read him another story, instances where I'd said things like, "Mommy needs 5 minutes of quiet," or "We can't afford that right now." All perfectly normal things that every parent says. But taken out of context, edited together, they painted a picture of an irritable, rejecting mother who didn't want to be around her children. "Even the kids see it," Riley said, playing another recording. "Sophia told me last week that she wishes I was her mommy instead, because I'm more fun, and I don't get mad about messes." Carter asked if you have to work so much because you don't like being home with them. These conversations had happened. My children had said these things. But what Riley didn't mention was the context. Sophia had made that comment after I'd asked her to clean up toys that were scattered all over the living room. Carter had asked about my work after I'd missed his school play because a patient was literally dying, and I couldn't leave my shift. Riley had been there for both of those moments. She'd seen how much it hurt me to miss Carter's play. She'd helped me explain to Sophia why keeping our house clean was important, but she'd taken my children's innocent questions and turned them into weapons against me. "We never meant for it to go this far," Trevor said, but his voice sounded hollow. "But once it started, we couldn't stop. The kids, they're already attached to Riley. They see her as family. Destroying that now would hurt them more than helping them transition gradually." Transition. Like my children were objects being passed from one owner to another. Like their relationship with their actual mother was something that needed to be transitioned away from. Then Riley delivered the final blow. "Maya, I know this hurts, but if you're honest with yourself, you'll admit that we're better suited for each other, and I'm better suited for them. We have more in common. We laugh together, we dream together. You and Trevor. You've been going through the motions for years, and with the kids, you love them, but you're always so tired, so stressed. They need someone who has energy for them, someone who can be present. Present. I was working 60-hour weeks to keep our family financially stable while Trevor played house with my sister, and I was the one who wasn't present. But the worst part was that some of what she said felt true. I was tired. I was stressed. I did sometimes feel like I was going through the motions, trying to balance an impossible schedule of work and motherhood and marriage. I had been struggling. Not because I didn't love my family, but because I was carrying the entire weight of our household while my husband was building a secret life with my sister. But instead of supporting me, instead of helping me, instead of acknowledging that I was drowning, they'd used my struggles as justification for their betrayal. They'd turned my dedication to providing for my family into evidence that I didn't care about them. By the next morning, I'd made my decision. They thought they'd won. They thought I'd roll over and accept their new reality because I always tried to keep the peace. They thought I'd prioritize my children's stability over my own justice. They were right about one thing. I did prioritize my children, but not in the way they expected. I agreed to the divorce. I agreed to the custody arrangement. I even agreed to let them buy the house they'd picked out. But I had conditions. See, working as a nurse for 8 years gives you access to things, information, medications, knowledge about how the human body works, how it fails, what happens when certain substances interact. I'm not proud of what I did, but I'm not sorry either. Riley was 3 months pregnant. High-risk pregnancy, she claimed, due to some family health issues that ran in our family. She'd need careful monitoring, special medications, regular checkups. I offered to help. As her sister. As a medical professional. As someone who wanted to move forward peacefully for the sake of the children. They were so relieved that I was being mature about everything. What they didn't know was that I'd been documenting everything throughout that endless day. Every lie, every manipulation, every piece of evidence they'd shown me. I had photos of their folder with my phone, screenshots of the financial records, recordings of their admissions, but evidence wasn't enough. Legal battles take years and cost money I didn't have. By the time any court case was resolved, my children would be even more attached to Riley, even more convinced that I was the problem in their lives. I wanted justice, but I also wanted it to be swift and complete. Riley's prenatal vitamins came from a specific pharmacy downtown, the same chain where I'd worked part-time during nursing school. I still knew people there. I volunteered to pick up her prescriptions for her. Such a caring sister who wanted to help during this difficult time. Trevor's cholesterol medication came from the same place, along with his blood pressure pills and the anxiety medication he'd started taking since his business stress had gotten worse. I was so helpful, offering to handle their prescription runs while they dealt with the stress of house hunting and planning their new life together. Here's what you need to understand about medical knowledge. It's not just about helping people heal. It's about understanding cause and effect. Understanding what happens when you modify dosages, when you mix certain medications, when you introduce substances that shouldn't be combined. It's about knowing how the human body works, and more importantly, how it fails. I spent weeks researching drug interactions, medication effects during pregnancy, the delicate balance of blood pressure medications. I studied case reports of accidental overdoses, medication errors, and adverse reactions. I learned about plausible complications that could arise from seemingly innocent mistakes. The beauty of my plan was that it would look completely natural. High-risk pregnancy complications, stress-related health issues from dealing with a difficult divorce, poor medication management during an emotionally turbulent time. Things happen, bodies fail, medicine isn't perfect, and sometimes people don't follow instructions correctly. I knew exactly what amounts would cause problems without being lethal. I understood which combinations would create symptoms that would seem unrelated to each other. I calculated dosages that would cause maximum disruption to their lives, while staying within the realm of believable medical complications. Riley was already claiming to have a high-risk pregnancy due to some family health issues. That gave me the perfect cover. Pregnancy complications are unfortunately common, especially when there's added stress and irregular medication management. Trevor's existing health conditions made him an ideal target as well. Men his age often develop more serious cardiovascular issues, especially during stressful life events. His doctor would easily believe that the divorce proceedings and work stress were affecting his physical health. I planned everything meticulously, which medications to alter, by how much, and when. how to time the changes so the effects would seem gradual and natural, how to create a pattern of health problems that would slowly destroy their perfect new life together. The most important part was that I could be there to witness it all. The caring sister rushing Riley to the hospital during complications. The concerned ex-wife helping Trevor manage his increasingly complex health issues. Always helpful, always supportive, always the picture of grace under pressure. No one would ever suspect that the same hands helping them were the ones causing their suffering. It took 3 months for my plan to reach its full effect, and I was there for every moment of their downfall. The first signs started small. Riley began experiencing morning sickness that seemed more severe than typical. She'd call me crying, asking if this was normal, if I thought something was wrong. I'd comfort her, suggest she call her doctor, offer to drive her to appointments. The perfect concerned sister. Trevor started having trouble sleeping. His anxiety medication didn't seem to be working as well. He'd complain about feeling jittery, having heart palpitations. His doctor adjusted his dosages, but the problems persisted. I'd express worry, suggest he get additional tests, recommend specialists. The caring ex-wife who still wanted the best for her children's father. At 6 weeks into my plan, Riley had her first serious episode. Severe cramping and bleeding that sent her to the emergency room at 2 a.m. I rushed to the hospital, held her hand while they ran tests, comforted Trevor in the waiting room. The pregnancy was still viable, but the doctors were concerned. She was put on bed rest and additional monitoring. I volunteered to help coordinate her care, to manage her medications, drive her to appointments, make sure she was following all the doctor's instructions. Everyone was so grateful for my support during such a difficult time. Trevor's problems escalated around the same time. His blood pressure became erratic, swinging from dangerously high to concerningly low without warning. His doctor was baffled. They ran cardiac tests, changed his medications multiple times, referred him to specialists. Nothing seemed to work. The stress of Riley's pregnancy complications combined with his own health issues started affecting his work. He'd have panic attacks in the middle of client meetings. His concentration was shot. He made mistakes on important deals. His business partners began questioning his reliability. I was always there to help, picking up medications when he was too dizzy to drive, sitting with him in doctors' waiting rooms, taking notes during medical appointments when he was too anxious to focus. Everyone saw how supportive I was being, despite everything they'd put me through. By the 4th month, their perfect love story was cracking under the pressure. Riley lost the baby at 24 weeks. The complications I'd carefully orchestrated finally reached their inevitable conclusion. It appeared to be a tragic case of pregnancy complications, exacerbated by stress and medication interactions. The kind of loss that happens to thousands of women every year, devastating but not uncommon. She was hospitalized for a week. I never left her side. I held her while she sobbed, brought her food when she couldn't eat, coordinated with the funeral home for the tiny service they held. I was the perfect grieving sister, mourning the loss of my would-be niece. But the damage from the pregnancy loss went beyond just losing the baby. The complications I'd caused left her with permanent internal scarring. The doctors explained that she would likely never be able to carry a pregnancy to term again. Riley, who had dreamed of being a mother, who had stolen my children's affections by promising them a new baby brother or sister, would never have biological children of her own. Trevor's health continued to deteriorate even after the pregnancy loss. The combination of medications I'd altered had created a cascade of problems that his doctors couldn't reverse. His cardiovascular system was permanently affected. He developed chronic fatigue, memory problems, and recurring episodes of heart rhythm abnormalities. The medical bills began piling up. Specialist appointments, emergency room visits, prescription changes, experimental treatments. Their dream house became impossible to afford. Trevor had to sell his business for a fraction of what it was worth because he could no longer handle the stress and demands of running it. The grief from losing the baby, combined with Trevor's ongoing health crisis and their mounting financial problems, destroyed their relationship. They started fighting constantly. Riley blamed Trevor for not being strong enough to support her through the loss. Trevor resented Riley for the stress her high-risk pregnancy had added to his life. The perfect love that had been worth destroying my marriage for began to rot from the inside. Riley spiraled into severe depression. She couldn't work, couldn't function, couldn't bear to be around children, including Sophia and Carter, who reminded her of everything she'd lost. She moved back in with her parents temporarily, then eventually relocated across the country to start over somewhere that didn't hold painful memories. Trevor ended up in a small one-bedroom apartment, struggling to pay child support and alimony on his drastically reduced income. His health problems made it impossible for him to work full-time. He could barely manage his every other weekend visitation with the children because he was often too exhausted or too sick to keep up with them. Meanwhile, I documented everything. Every hospital visit, every medication change, every sign that they were unfit to care for my children. When it came time for custody hearings, I had a mountain of evidence showing that Trevor was too ill to be a reliable parent, and Riley was too unstable to be around the children. I got full custody with minimal visitation for Trevor. The court agreed that stability was what Sophia and Carter needed, and I was clearly the only parent capable of providing it. It's been 2 years now. My children they seem happy, healthy. They don't remember much about that time. Children are resilient that way. They've adapted to their new normal. Sophia still asks about Aunt Riley sometimes. Why doesn't she visit anymore, Mommy? And I have to look into my 7-year-old's innocent eyes and say, she moved far away, sweetheart. Sometimes grown-ups have to start over somewhere new. Carter doesn't remember her as much. He was so young when she left. Sometimes he'll see a woman with dark hair at the grocery store and say, that lady looks like someone I used to know. And my heart breaks a little more each time. Trevor sees them every other weekend when he's feeling well enough. He picks them up in an old sedan now. The BMW is long gone. His hands shake when he tries to help them with their seat belts. He gets tired easily. Sometimes he has to sit down during their visits because his heart starts racing. The kids are gentle with him. They've learned not to ask for piggyback rides or roughhousing. They've learned to speak quietly when Daddy has one of his difficult days. They bring him water and his pills without being asked. They're 7 and 4 years old, and they're taking care of their father because I made sure he couldn't take care of them. I got a promotion at the hospital. Senior nurse in the cardiac unit. Everyone respects me, trusts me. Patients hold my hand when they're scared. Families thank me for saving their loved ones. I save lives every single day with the same hands that destroyed 2 people I used to love. And I can't sleep anymore. Every night I lie awake listening to my children breathe in their beds, and I think about what I did, what I became, what I'm still becoming every day that I keep this secret. I tell myself they deserved it. I remind myself of every lie, every manipulation, every moment they stole from me. But late at night, when the house is quiet and I'm alone with my thoughts, I remember other things too. I remember Riley at 16, crying on my shoulder when her first boyfriend broke her heart. I remember promising her that someday she'd find someone who loved her the way she deserved to be loved. I remember Trevor holding Sophia for the first time, tears streaming down his face as he whispered, "She's perfect. We made something perfect." I remember thinking that this man would do anything to protect our family. They weren't always monsters. They became monsters when they chose each other over everything we'd built together. But I chose to become something worse. Riley lost more than a baby that day in the hospital. The complications I caused, they were permanent. She'll never carry a child now. Never feel a baby kick inside her. Never hold her own newborn or hear that first cry or experience any of the moments that make the pain of childbirth worth it. She wanted to be a mother so badly that she was willing to steal my children's affections to get a taste of it. And I made sure she'll never have that chance with any child, ever. Trevor's health problems aren't going away. The medications I altered, the careful combinations I created, they've left him with permanent damage to his cardiovascular system. He's 35 years old, and he has the heart of someone 20 years older. He gets winded walking upstairs. He can't work a full day anymore. The man who tried to steal my future is now living without one of his own. Some nights, I hear one of my children having a nightmare, and I go to comfort them. I rub their back and sing them lullabies and promise them that everything will be okay. And they believe me, because I'm mommy, and mommy keeps them safe. But then I think about Riley, alone in her apartment across the country, waking up from nightmares about the baby she lost. And there's no one there to comfort her, no one to promise her that everything will be okay. And I think about Trevor, lying in his small bedroom, chest tight, and heart racing from the medications that will never quite work right again. And he's alone too, because the woman he destroyed his family for couldn't handle watching him suffer from the consequences of loving her. My children sleep peacefully because I made sure the people who threatened their stability would never be able to do it again. But I can't sleep, because I know what I'm capable of now. I know how easy it was to cross that line. How simple it was to use my knowledge and skills to hurt instead of heal. I know that the woman who sang lullabies to her babies is the same woman who calculated dosages to destroy their father. And that knowledge, that's my real punishment. Not prison, not exposure, not losing my children. Living every day knowing that I saved my family by becoming exactly the kind of person they needed protection from. Yesterday, my daughter asked me why I cry in my sleep. Tomorrow she'll ask me again. And I'll keep lying to her, because the truth, that mommy became a monster to keep her safe, would destroy the innocence I sacrificed everything to protect. That's what 24 hours of betrayal cost me. Not just my marriage, not just my sister, not just my faith in love. It cost me the ability to believe I'm one of the good people. And I don't know how to live with that anymore. I don't know if I want to. This confession raises difficult questions about justice, revenge, and how far someone should go to protect what they love. What do you think? Was she justified, or did she become the monster she was fighting against? If you have a confession weighing on your heart, send it to unheardchannel@gmail.com. Your story matters. Your secret is safe with us. Subscribe for more confessions that will challenge everything you think you know about right and wrong. And remember, we all have breaking points. The question is, what happens when we reach them?